Now to the U.S., the release of thousands of pages of documents related to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein's abuse by the U.S. Department of Justice has left some who were anxiously waiting for the files disappointed. By law, the DOJ had to make all materials public by the end of Friday, but only some have been released, with many with numerous redactions. The lawmakers who pushed for the documents to see the light of day have described the DOJ's efforts as insincere, and some legal experts say that the redactions may only fuel ongoing conspiracy theories. Campaigners and survivors have criticized the level of redactions in what's been made public and questioned why everything isn't out in the latest Epstein files drop. The U.S. Justice Department has acknowledged it is still reviewing hundreds of thousands of pages of materials for possible release after publishing a tranche of documents on Friday night.
So, not shocked, but let down, disappointed, seeing, I think somebody said there was like 119 completely redacted pages. There's no way that that's just to protect the victims' identities, and there better be a good reason. I just don't know if we'll ever know what that is.
Arise analyst Rotimi Kade is live in New York now as Epstein victims are voicing frustrations over the files released so far, especially in connection with the DOJ. Good to have you this weekend, Rotimi. Now, let's talk about transparency and accountability with regards to this. The DOJ has released nearly 700 pages of the documents, but many are heavily redacted. How can the public trust that the release is comprehensive and transparent given the extensive redactions?
Well, already the public trust has been compromised because a lot of people expecting these files to be released are waiting on Friday to see whether the government is going to keep to its own side of the bargain, which left a lot of people disappointed. The Justice Department did say that there are a lot of documents to be reviewed, and the first tranche that was released were things that they believe that is more accurate, or will I say, in a way not to cause a public outcry, to be released publicly in a way that the victims also will be protected. However, what we've seen on the other hand is that the victims want a full disclosure of these documents. Thousands of these files are still being redacted by the Justice Department. And that is absolutely something unacceptable to both the victims and public who are eager to see to the end of this public Epstein file release.
Now, interesting, but critics argue that the release doesn't comply with the Epstein Files Transparency Act as well. So do you think the DOJ's actions will impact public perception of government accountability, especially under the Trump administration?
Yes, of course. And already there's been a lot of moves that have been put in place to see a possible impeachment of Penn Bondi, that's the Attorney General, and every other officials in the Justice Department that is holding back this information to the public. Both Republicans and Democrats in the House are trying to come with a resolution draft in a way that is going to force the Justice Department to release all the files. Some of the victims actually accused the Justice Department on Friday after the release, trying to meet the deadline, that there are some files that had the pictures of President Trump, and they were actually taken off. And just some hours ago, the Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, did come on one of the shows here in the U.S. saying that that has absolutely nothing to do with President Trump. Now, this is a big trust issues that the public believe that the Justice Department are not being transparent.
So let's talk about the implications for, powerful figures as well. As you know, there are powerful figures in these files. The released documents feature prominent figures like, Bill Clinton, but few references to Donald Trump. What implications might this have for Trump's reputation and political future?
Well, President Trump said he's unperturbed about his footprints on the Epstein files, that it has absolutely nothing is innocent about it. He had a relationship with Epstein a long time ago, and that relationship had been cut short because of a few disagreements, few moral disagreements between him and Epstein. But there are some other critics that are saying that they were still in contact even when President Trump was president in his first term. So the public is now left to who do we believe at this point? Is President Trump really fully involved or trying to protect his friend while he was alive before he committed suicide in prison? Or is just trying to save his face? So that's a big thing for President Trump. On the other hand, President Bill Clinton has not come out to publicly make a public statement, but for some of his associates, they were saying it's just a normal tete-a-tete, get-together party that Jeffrey Epstein usually on a regular basis hosts most of his friends, and they were just friends. They were not involved in all the illicit activities that he actually perpetrated during his time while he was alive. But this is the public is not satisfied with some of the state. Public actually want more. Right. For some reason, some people just want either these big shots to actually face prosecution, or they should probably maybe the Justice Department should come to the end of this investigation and know whether these people are truly, guilty or not.
Right. And, because of time, I'm trying to be quick so you can have, the time to answer all the questions. So having time consciousness now, how might the release of these documents affect international relations, particularly with, countries where, implicated individuals hold influence?
Well, I think we're beginning to see some of the outcome of this investigation. The brother of the King of England, Philip, was, it was actually taking, his position as the prince of, I think one of the prince was actually taken from him. His title was taken from him, and a lot of implication in terms of what it stands for, and the British royals actually try to dissociate themselves from these activities. And not just him, we've seen other people who are friends of Epstein here in the US, different from academics to socialites, and all those people resigning from their position or trying to take a low-key position in a way that they will not further complicate, the extent of this investigation. So on the international scene, we've seen those things beginning to come out. But again, just as we've seen in the British royals, where the punishment was meted out to the prince, a lot of people would like to see that in the United States. But we've not seen that, and that's the frustrating part of it.
Right. Now, quickly, let's talk about victim support and justice. Now, survivors like Jess Michaels expressed, frustration with the release, saying it doesn't bring justice. How can the government better support Epstein's, victims in this case?
Well, it's just for the DOJ to come to be more transparent with the investigation. Because there's this suspicion about the investigation that is being remotely controlled from the White House, that, a selective justice, so to speak. If that can be cleared, if that's the Justice Department can come out to say, we don't get instructions from President Trump or the chief of staff or anybody for that matter, and it gets to the conclusive end, I think a lot of people will be satisfied with the investigation.
Right. So should there be further investigations into individuals implicated in the documents, and would that be the potential outcome of this?
Well, Justice Department already began criminal investigation on some people, but they said they're still keeping everything under wraps. They're not ready to disclose the names, especially some of the big names like Bill Clinton and the rest of them that are on the radar of the Justice Department. But they want to make sure they get to a conclusive end of it before coming out to the public and saying, yeah, these are people that we believe are involved in this sex, illicit, activities under the Epstein era, which of course led to, some of these revelations that we've seen in a couple of months.
Now, finally, right, let's talk about government oversight. First, lawmakers like Ro Khanna and Thomas Macy criticized the DOJ's release as incompetent. What mechanisms can Congress use to ensure compliance with transparency laws, and how might these controversy impact the DOJ's credibility and future investigations?
Well, the good thing about it is that this is a bipartisan agreement, between Republicans and Democrats in the House, looking at a possibility of using the powers of Congress to force Justice Department to do their job. And what they're trying to come up with right now is to, draft a contempt of Congress, on officials who are involved in this investigation of impeachment, and making sure that they are dealt with the law. And of course, they try to go for the head of Justice Department, which is Pam Bondi, to impeach her and the thing about this impeachment is by simple majority. So, which means that if Republicans and Democrats can come together, Pam Bondi, which is Justice Department Attorney General, could see a job being on the line, and perhaps maybe force her to actually release some of those files and become a little bit more accountable with the way this investigation is going.
Right. Thank you so much, Rotimi Kade, for joining us from New York. Right there, we had to touch on the Epstein files and survivors voicing frustration